What's up, humans? And welcome to a new episode of Psicoactivo. Today we have a very interesting interview from author Martin Achirica Ramos, who wrote the book called Expediente Abierto, Open File, which talks about the whole process of how the bodies of the 60 centimeter Nazca Desiccated Bodies came to Mexico, how they arrived. He clears up some of the questions about the legality of it all. And we talked about a lot of stuff related to the bodies and a little bit about consciousness, a little bit about Dr. Jacobo Greenberg. We also talked about what he thinks about the U.S. disclosure effort. But yeah, mostly about the whole legality and what his experience has been like as one of the central people in this investigation of the bodies. If you like what you see, please, I encourage you to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel move forward, and we're getting closer to 3,000. So with your help, I think we can get there. Almost 90% of people who watch the videos are not subscribed, so it would be really cool if you could do it. And if you want to support the channel in any other way, I'm going to leave a few links in the description. And also all the links about what Mr. Achirica shared. There's one specific one about a photo that he showed me of a piece of metal they took from one of those bodies that had 99% silver alloy. And if the carbon dating on these bodies are over 1,500 years old, that level of purity in silver back then was impossible. It couldn't be achieved anywhere. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit. I'm going to show the picture as I speak right now, but he shared some other stuff that is very interesting. Without further ado, here's author Martin Achirica Ramos for Psicoactivo for you guys. Bye. What's up, humans? Welcome to a new episode of Psicoactivo. Today I have a very special guest, the author Martin Achirica Ramos. How are you, Mr. Achirica? Everything is fine, and happy to see you and greet you all the way to the north, right? Yeah, here we are in Tijuana. Tijuana always. Many years ago, I did an event that we called Tijuana, the Third Nation. In fact, I was talking to a person we know in common. My uncle knows about you, and my uncle didn't really know what I was doing, not what I'm starting to do, because this is new for me. And he told me, Mr. Achirica, you say he brought the bodies to Tijuana, and I mean, he knows him. And it was like, well, the connection was made there. The world is so small. No. There are coincidences in life. It's all a causality. In India, they call him Ritan, and that's how it is. So enjoy this moment. I always say, what is the best time in the world? It's this one. We don't have another one. We only have in mind the causality of meeting in this psychoactive way. Because all those who are not psychoactive are zombies. So let's get active. Well thought out and well said. Thank you very much for the promo. Hey, I wanted to tell you so that people know you a little more, Mr. Achirica. If you can give us an introduction to who you are and how you first became interested in the desiccated bodies of Nazca. But first, an introduction from you, please, little one, if you can. No, I can't make an introduction about myself because I'm just discovering myself. That thing about who you are, this is very complex. I am still searching for who I am. What I can tell you is that I am just passionate about living. I like to live. I like to follow Socrates. Because Socrates said that the basis of knowledge is astonishment, and that true knowledge is knowing that you know nothing. So I am an expert on that. I know nothing, and I am amazed at everything. And that's how I became passionate. After the chores in my professional life, I have had people say I was successful. I believe that success can only be said if you experience peace. It is the only way to say that you are successful, because peace is the only reason in life that can tell you that you are giving reason to this sense of making your heart beat. So that's what I tell you. I tell you about myself. I am currently in the Spanish hospital. We have a 3-0 medicine clinic as part of our duties. About 3-0 medicine, which has to do with what they talk about as modern medicine, but in reality it has a solid base with ancestral medicine, the medicine that has been around for 5,000 years with shamanism, where the only reason for medicine is well-being and longevity. I assume that with what you just told me, you know the work of Dr. Jacobo Grinberg, right? I imagine. Of course, Jacobo, they took him to meditation, the same person who invited me to work with the Dalai Lama, Tony Karam. Tony was the one who takes Jacobo to experiencing what drove him crazy. That space between thoughts was Tony Karam. And Tony Karam is the one who at some point invites me to the experience of collaborating and working with the Dalai Lama. So I know Jacobo very well. I know very well what he found, what he discovered, and the truth of which he spoke. And it also unites me with Jacobo because I have already spent more than 27 years learning what life is like in shamanism. Yes, I have 27 years learning. It is one of my disciplines of working on the spirit, and that is why I am totally in favor of us being psychoactive. I am following Dr. Greenberg's case with it as my main case of all my research, and I have been talking to people in the intelligence community and the scientific community in the United States, trying to get to know their work better from their point of view. So I am very struck by the fact that you have also had contact, whether direct or semi-direct, with him. Well, I tell you direct because I know his work very well, maybe not direct because we didn't meet physically, but his passion for shamanism. I have been sharing it for 27 years. Its relationship with bioenergy, with telepathy, which is absolutely authentic. I continue to share it. In my previous book, I had the privilege that one of the people that Jacobo also admired, who is Don Antonio Velasco Pina, the visionary of Mexico, the wise man, it was the last prologue he wrote in his life. It was for me, Book Euthanasia to Live. And the other prologue, Ana Maria Oliva, I invite you to invite her to have a live with her so that, as they say in Spain, you freak out. She is the Latin doctor with the greatest knowledge in human bioenergy. She's on another level, so much so that she had to leave Spain because she was telling the truth. Now she has returned to Spain. Not anymore. She's threatened for telling the truth, but she's a woman with a professional career and a doctorate in human biology. Which speaks of the truth, because I always say, and I say it in the book, we know what we know what we don't know, but we still don't know what we don't know. And that is where the greatest amount of truth lies. Yes, and much of the topic that we are going to talk about today, because there are so many things that are done behind the scenes that I would like to see if I can get a little information for people. But because it catches my attention that my audience is mostly American, we are going to translate this with artificial intelligence, and I am very struck by all the doubts that have been generated during these years and the perception they have there. And I would like to see if I can help a little bit so that people know, well, from the people who were around and who were involved in this, and what they know and what they did in the most factual way possible. So you wrote the open book here? It's not commercial here, but I have one that they asked me for. It is a book signed in Spain without any type of presumption or anything. What I can tell you is that it is an honest book, that it is a non-biased book, because the book talks about absolutely everything. It is not a book that necessarily speaks totally to one part of the story. It is a book that includes even the memes, it includes all the attacks, all the abuses, all the misinformation, it includes everything. From the first moment in 2016 until December 2023, trying to contemplate everyone who has been present. I apologize in advance if I missed someone, but I would say it would be fewer than 5%. Everyone is considered, everyone is named in the fairest way because in the end, everyone wants to be in the photo, right? And everyone wants the credit. I'm not interested. I'm interested in team building. I'm interested in speaking the truth. I'm not worried about anything because they say, worry about your enemies when they're right. A topic that Dr. Piotti reiterated to me, Celestino Piotti, the largest Latin forensic doctor in America, with several doctorates in his work and an impressive career. He is a man that the Vatican itself hires to recognize the remains of some saints as authentic remains. Yes, and I had to see some of the things he does, and he has some discoveries that are very strong. The truth is, he's about to release book, where with that academic degree, he is another of those who are already joining this, which is the truth. So I invite you to invite him. I will give you his contact. You are going to come across a wise man, a man of science, and a man truly knowledgeable about what are the remains, especially bones. And I asked Dr. Piotti, and what do I do with so many deniers, with so many fools? And he tells me, I'm going to tell you what you have to do with them. Don't waste your time. Don't give them importance. I say that within all those people, Mr. Achirica, I think it should also be noted that there are many people who do not necessarily have bad intentions when they doubt this, but who have also been exposed to information and campaigns for several years that they have made a decision without seeing the evidence. And I think it is worth trying to teach these people the evidence so that they can discern everything that is happening in a more objective way, right? Of course, I would tell you that it is not worth it. Not worth it. It's worth the joy. It's worth the joy. One of those in the introduction of the book is done by Dr. Lucy Romero, Chopra's disciple, with great significance. One great expert in America on the human psyche. And she says that this symptom of detractors is an absolutely normal symptom. And it has occurred throughout the history of humanity, because any paradigm shift, any change in history represents a threat to the collective. If we remember Galileo, for example, right? How long did it take? Yes, okay. So let's not worry. And I wanted to ask you the first question related to the topic. What aspects of the initial data of this investigation that you came across were what convinced you that an effort had to be made to bring the bodies to Mexico? Let's see, the first thing is my meeting at the University of Ica with Dr. Roger Zuniga, who apart from being a great researcher, has another quality better than a researcher, his human quality, his professionalism, having Maria and the specimens in front of me at the University of Ica, and the frustration that also existed due to part of the university and on the part of some interested parties in Peru, because there was no equipment, there was no financing beyond what my friend and partner Konstantin Korokov did. And I know him because of the equipment. Of bioelectrography that we have in our clinic, and more of the studies that were done in Canada, the wonderful contribution that Gaia made for the first advances. When I saw them, I was skeptical, or Well, I must tell you that I was one of the first saying, even though Dr. Jose Salce said, Martin, really, and it's hard for me. I was skeptical and first because we have this mental pattern that when they talk to you about a mummy, you make a similarity with the mummies of Egypt, or you make a similarity with the mummies from Guanajuato that at some point I worked with them. And if you see a tiny white body, speaking of small ones, it breaks the parameters of what a mummy is for you. Little by little, I discovered that they are not mummified, that they are desiccated bodies, that the white powder is diatomaceous earth, that there is a cadmium chloride layer first. I could see the skin in the microscope, which I could see in the tomography, in the X-rays, is when we get excited to participate and to collaborate in favor of this enormous and great discovery. Okay. And that's why we got interested in it. Okay, thanks a lot. Let's talk about a topic that it's a little bit complicated sometimes because a lot of people... I ask my followers to ask me questions. The questions are more or less about the same thing. When I want to approach scientists, whether from the US or from another country, I ask them if they would dare to go to Mexico to investigate the bodies that are there. Quickly, whether they are skeptical or detractors, they talk about there being illegalities in the process of bringing the bodies to Mexico. I wanted to know if you could clarify for us all that, how the process was and what measures were legally taken to be able to bring them in and ensure there were no problems. Because the Ministry of Culture is saying one thing and Mr. Maussan's people are saying something else. So I want to know what the real process was like so that people know and understand, well, I really confess my interest is not to clarify the legal issue because it is not my job. It is not my job. Our job is focused on the scientific part. Right, not clarify anything at all. The only thing I can tell you is that the bodies were not stolen, the bodies were not bought, the bodies were not removed. There is an enormous difference in receiving biological remains in legal and public custody for study in a public manner, not in the dark, in a public manner, receiving them in Mexican territory with the condition that they were not going to be purchased or removed from Peru, and much more. Less when at that time there were remains that for the Ministry of Culture were dolls. So with less reason today. Well, it seems that they are not dolls, and well, it seems like they are real and that they can change our paradigm. We are respecting Peru, a wonderful country, extraordinary people, starting with its culture and something that I really like, its gastronomy. However, it must also be said with very important and sad degrees of corruption. Everything I tell you is supported on paper, on video, everything. We have the videos where we visited, knocked on the doors of the Ministry of Culture, the letters asking them to attend to the case, to help us, to come to study, to see what we were having in hand. And the proud response was, no, not interested. Not even out of curiosity did they come close. Even at that time, the Ministry of Culture told us live on TV that she would eat a cockroach. We already have it in the oven. Because like this, there was arrogance, there was bad intentions, there was an uneducated issue, and well, the only thing we did was support science, support the truth, and thereby honor the people, and the wonderful country of Peru. In relation to the truth, you can pass the links to me later to put them in the description so that people can see the videos and all that. If you would be so kind, everything is in the book. I told you everything is in the book. but there's no way online where you can visit it. I don't know where that video is, all that. One of the reasons why we made the book is precisely because there was such a demand for the information, such a demand for all of this, that's why we opened the research. That's why it's called Open Expedition. In the book, we did a job that took a long time, because if we had put all the material, the book would not have been as wide as it is. It would have been a very robust book. So inside all this information that I tell you is in QR so that it can be downloaded, it can be seen very well. Everything is in QR. I was the person with several laboratories who uploaded all the DNA and genetic information to the most important database in the US. I was the one who did it because it was forgotten. They were working 24/24 on computers to be able to upload that amount of information until we achieved it. It was uploaded so that it was also public, and those who know about genetics, I invite you to get involved and see how this genetic study is authentic and how in an important percentage, and that important percentage leads us to the truth that it is not DNA classified as human. It's there. I want to be very punctual with the topic of the extraterrestrial, right? Yes, tell me. I want to be very punctual. I would like to assert that I wish they were ET, but I've already been to Peru several times and I have not found the ship. So I can't say I can assert that the bodies had life, that the bodies are real, that the bodies are not fabricated, and that the bodies walked on this planet. Armed means built, right? That's where lies begin, and that's where it begins. When you repeat a lie a lot, it seems to become the truth. And that's where the first fabricated doll that I'm telling you about appears. But first, I would like to conclude with what I was telling you. The Encyclopedia of Life tells you that there are 2 million species on this planet, which includes us humans. There are still more than 3 million to be discovered on planet Earth alone. Listen to me, more than 3 million. About a month ago, off the coast of Chile at depth, an underwater robot discovered 100,100 new species that had never been seen on Earth. Chance? The vast majority look like aliens. Come see it too. Whoever dedicates a little time to studying the subject knows that Homo sapiens was not the one or the only Homo that inhabited the Earth. There were small homos and there were giant homos. Even the Bible says it, but we as human beings have so much pride that we think that we have the absolute truth and that we are the chosen people. Although we are a divine manifestation because we access consciousness, right? But we have not accessed consciousness enough, because if we had sufficiently exceeded consciousness, Aristotle's dream would have been confirmed, who said it in 323 BC, that the human being would find happiness and fulfillment over the centuries. And we have done it very badly. Just look at how the planet is. It is enough to see how the divisions are. It is enough to see how the selfishness is. Just look at the millions of human beings on the planet who do not have enough to eat. Poverty, extreme poverty. And it is enough to see in these times so much search by human beings to have an identity. And sometimes that identity is sought in the sophistry or mirages of the truth. I think this is due to the materialist paradigm that has dominated us for so long, right? Exactly. But now there is also another paradigm that apparently, well, it has enormous force today in history. We are not going to get too involved in that topic, in what is happening on the planet, the strong presence of socialism. But sadly, in some cases, that socialism has led to a community of no work, no greater effort, no enthusiasm. The topic of socialism has an interesting principle, which is to give to everyone and make everyone better off. Sensational. But greater equality does not mean working less, nor taking away from those who had it, but generating wealth for those who really want to grow. But let's not get into that topic, which is not our topic today. It's a bottomless barrel. Let us understand about these bodies. Another inexplicable wonder is that these bodies appeared, this species appears and disappears. There is no evolutionary continuity, neither before nor after. And those little fabricated bodies that are the 30 cms that Paul Ronceros was the one that takes to the Ministry of Culture, that it falls, that breaks its leg, that this gentleman pseudo-investigator says so, these are false. Calm down, sir. Those little dolls were planted in the place where the real bodies were, like an offering. Why don't you come see the big ones? And why don't you look at those little dolls that you say are a farce? Because it turns out that carbon-14 does show that they are more than 1,400 years old. And they are also dried out. I think it would be worth a little humility to go in to be able to say, let's see, let's team up, let's investigate. We have never, ever refused to have this investigated and investigated further. Regarding these small bodies that you say, the ones that were brought with you and Mr. Maussan to Mexico, I have heard that I was there. I ask you that we rectify. We did not bring, we received. There is a huge difference. Okay, we receive in Mexico. Okay, that's why we're talking about. Because exactly in an institution, exactly a non-profit and research institution, that's very important to clarify, isn't it? This, and returning to the topic, those bodies, do you remember when on September 12th, 2023, we presented them to the world in just 2 hours? We were a global trending topic. The phone rang all over the planet, and the Ministry of Culture came up with the story of the doll. We breathed. We did not do any reactive act because you know that Kabbalah says that everything you do reactively does not have a happy ending. We were proactive. We did not defend ourselves. And we decided a week after this, after the defamations began, to do a live fluoroscopy scan before a notary public. To your Anglo-Saxon audience, I would ask you to explain the strength it has in Mexico or the legal hierarchy that a notary has. In other words, a notary cannot lie about what is happening there. He loses his license, he can go to jail, he loses everything, he loses his notary office. Before a notary public, we presented with different doctors of the highest rank in Mexico our way of responding, live awareness before a notary, new traumatologists, new doctors, and everyone said, damn it, the bodies are real, so why waste time? So to clarify nothing more, because the bodies that you received, because I saw a video by Juan Mantilla where he said that some of these smaller bodies were found with fecal matter in their intestines. That's true? If Joyce said it, it's true. Okay, so there are fabricated bodies and also real bodies that were the same size? No. There is a body, two little 30 centimeters bodies that are fabricated. And in the book, there are photographs of those bodies that are even smaller than 30 centimeters. Obviously crafted, and I put it in the book. But the bodies of 60 centimeters and then Maria and the last ones that have appeared already in December 2023 are not fabricated bodies, and are also bodies that have these intraepithelial metals and that there is no crack in the skin. Where did it enter? How did this happen? And some of them are related to the brain. Probably the ones with the calves have these metals, or these skulls that have these metal rhombuses, which can be osmium, silver, copper. Of the bodies from Mexico that were studied in Mexico, they have 99% pure silver, which 1400 years ago was not available to obtain that level of pure silver. That was done by the system, the National Polytechnic Institute, and the note is also in the book. The letter under oath of truth is also in the book, where 12 professors from the University of San Luis Gonzaga of Ica, they say, gentlemen, the bodies are real. Okay, it's good that you clarify, because if you realize in real time, I am like my audience, because we have heard so many things, so I have to ask details, and in real time you see how I react to everything and how I realize the things that have come out. Nothing more for technical reasons. You told me about an organization that was involved when the bodies arrived here in Mexico. What is the name of the organization? NB is a Cultural Institute for Research. They have the bodies in custody for this, for the study. NB? Yes, NB Culture. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I wanted to ask about the new legislation that came out in the US. It is very detailed. I don't know if you are aware of what this legislation is like. Okay, but what legislation can you tell me? The one that came out in November, that was approved in November, that talks about eminent domain, about everything can be taken away, whether from aerospace companies or scientific groups. That have biological remains or technology. The government, with this law, which has not yet been approved, wants to take away all the evidence from those who have material or biological remains to claim ownership over. That has not happened here in Mexico, but if that law were to be passed in the US, what would you do if you were in the USA and had these bodies in research and they wanted to take them away just because it was the only one, the only one? One way, and we are working on it long and hard, is to go to the US. Legally, with scientific support, with scientific invitation and approved. It's the only way we'll go to the US legally. Okay, so if you were already there legally with the bodies and the government wanted to take the bodies from you and keep them, would you accept it? I think you are talking about a television series. No. It's something that, look, I'll explain quickly. The people, Mr. Brandon Fugel, who is a billionaire who has the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, he accepted that he opposed this part of the law so that they would not take away material and other technological things that they say are coming of non-human intelligence. So, and he says that he opposed it, and that's why the law didn't pass, because there were more people like him in possession of these things who opposed it, and that's why it didn't pass. That's why I ask you, because there are people there who say they have things in their possession that came from somewhere else and they don't want them taken away because they want to maybe study them, or I don't know. That's why I asked you, well, whatever country you go to, do what the law says. One of the things to maintain a moral and ethical quality is to respect the laws of each country. The only thing to do if you are in the US, you respect their laws and their actions because you're going to oppose, or even Mexican laws. You have to be in favor of legality, in favor of the law. That is why each step that is taken has to be taken well and in order, legally, and with a robust, solid, especially scientific team. Okay, thank you very much for answering that. I wanted to ask you if there are plans or if you can reveal anything about a scientific article that is going to be published about the bodies of Mauricio and Clara. I heard some things and I wanted to know directly from you if you have anything you can share with. Me, well, look, we have 100% completed the tomography scans for Mauricio and Clara already in 6,000 slices. We were now able to enter the eggs. We already checked what is inside the eggs. There is an embryo. That's it. We're done. But we have worked in depth on many x-rays. For example, on the shoulder, you know that in any skeleton, the shoulder is the most complex skeletal part. Yes, it also has more endings of everything. So there are now 4 traumatologists who saw the shoulders and, well, unanimously it is real. So the issue of the skulls, you see that there was a rumor about the famous llama heads. We also worked deeply on the skulls, and also unanimously there is no cut. If it were a llama head, it would have evidence of cuts. There isn't. I can tell you that Dr. Piotti, when the bodies were taken to the laboratory, burst into tears. He burst into tears because he thought that never in his life would he have a scientific verification of this level in his hands. He burst into tears. We also finished the studies of metallurgy. It is also published that has already been published. I just saw that one already. We have it signed by a national university. There is also the letter from UNAM. You see that they distorted Jaime's text. Jaime never said aliens. Jaime never said that UNAM said it. Here it is. In the book comes the entire speech that Jaime gave that September 12th. So you can see how the manipulation of pseudo-journalists, in some cases, the only thing they do is damage. Jaime said about the biological remains, the UNAM verified their age, and there is the book, the letter, where the UNAM effectively says these biological remains are more than 1,000 years old. And about the other studies, apart from metallurgy, are scientific articles already published? Did you tell me? Or not yet? Well, all the studies are published, absolutely all of them. Now Dr. Piotti is releasing his new book that he is about to finish. He told me a few weeks ago that he will send it to Mexico, both to me and to Jaime, where he already talks in a scientific book about what he found. Sensational. The book also brings several of the sections that, at the time, from the studies that Dmitry and Konstantin did in St. Petersburg, Russia. All the studies come there too. And well, now it's the topic of DNA. I invite your audience, whoever wants to join, so that some American institution could formally study DNA, well, to be able to bring them samples, to go deeper into the subject of DNA, and that these supercomputers that can access more deeper in that bottomless spiral of genetics, they could discover something. Do you remember Dr. Zalz and Jose de la Cruz Rios in the interview we did? On Twitter, they mentioned that there are already 4 institutions that are currently carrying out studies and that the results will be released within the next few months. Is there any other detail you can give me about these institutions? Well, I also know Dr. Zalz told me yesterday that there is also already a fundraiser in the U.S. To continue the investigation with just a few hours of interest, they are aiming to raise more than $50,000. I think it's sensational. Dr. J. McDowell is also trying to formally continue this research. Today we received 2 calls that I would love to tell you about. Whose is it? I'm not going to say it. It's not the time, but now Jamie is traveling for the weekend and it's likely. I already know who it is. I already know. I don't think both. I know one. Let's see. Tim Burchett, right? Yeah. And the other, and I'm not going to say the other one, but I'll tell him in private because he gets angry if we say, but I do know who he is. I believe that the other one you don't know because up to this moment only he and I know it. Well, maybe there is a third. What is important beyond secrecy? And if we keep something secret, it's only for the sake of research. One thing about this, because the topic seems important to me, I do it only and exclusively when the person who wants them to keep their identity secret, but if they are not involved with the case, if the person is involved with the case because of how all the misinformation has been in these years, it seems very bad. To me, idea that wants to be hidden behind. Wow, for me personally, I believe that everything has to be open. I think it has to be transparent. And if it is done like this, I think we will get to the truth faster because this has already taken 7, 8 years. I think that many of you are also already a little tired of hearing the same thing again. The same thing again. Yes, it's good that people from other countries have started to take the lead a little more because I did see them quite alone for several years and receiving attacks and everything. And it seemed quite unfair to me, honestly. Well, the memes that I was already missing also returned. One from China. I don't know if you managed to see this one. Let's see. Let me see if I have it. If I have it here. Wait for me to put it here for your audience. Well, this one, let me remove the Bluetooth here on this phone. Let's see. Oh, no, 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 no. I already saw it. Very bad, very bad. You have to know how to laugh, right? Also, well, there is also data that to get away from the scientific topic a little, I don't know. Did you know that in the most expensive commercial for this, year's Super Bowl, it was the one about the UFOs, right? From Scorsese. Scorsese and showed our Mauricio, our child. I sent him congratulations, but we didn't charge him royalties or anything, and he showed our child. So there are incredible things. Even the meme comes in the book where they put Joe Biden face on Mauricio's alien body. Anyway, to Madrid, to Manchester. Anyway, this part has also been very fun. Yes, I imagine. It's good that you take it at least well, because I know there are many people who do get upset, but good, you have to. You have to take life, this one, in blessing and in light, and and just a few more questions to finish. I have a few left, but I wanted to ask you, apart from those who are here in Mexico, who arrived here in Mexico, the ones you received, because I can't help but think that there was a lot of lack of control with the Huacueros at some point. So, no, and I wouldn't like to think that that's just where these types of bodies could be buried. I can't help but think about the black market. It seems to me that something related to that could have happened. Do you think it is possible that there are other bodies that have been purchased for private collections illegally? Because for me, the truth is that it is a little worrying, and it is an issue that I think should also be addressed seriously, don't you think? No, no, I couldn't tell you. The only thing I can say is that we didn't go that route out of respect. In Peru, out of respect for science, we went to the right, but we did become active in the area of research. That will be up to those who have to investigate it to investigate, and it will be up to those who have participated in something to respond, right? Correct. Thank you so much. And I give you another good news. The book includes a part, so I have heard about dimple stones. No, I haven't heard of them. Well, dimple stones appeared a few decades ago. Today, like everything else, there are replicas, but we have a collection of the original stones. Coincidentally, those stones, when you see them carved 2,000 years ago, carry this. And I don't know if you know who J.J. Benitez is. Yes, of course, I read his books as a child that I shouldn't have. Well, that's why you have a psychoactive mind, otherwise you couldn't be there. But define your audience, my dear friend, as Dr. Dare. J.J. Benitez, I'd love to. Who is J.J. Benitez for you? Oh, well, it's difficult because he has said that he has done so many things in his books that it borders on the implausible a little, so to speak. But I understand that he is a time traveler. I understand that he is something of a prophet. And well, he is one of the most read and most knowledgeable people that I have ever had. To consume his content. But yes, it is also very controversial since it started. So a lot of people take it because no, nothing he wrote was true. It's hard to believe, honestly, especially we're in this materialistic paradigm. It's hard to believe. But what can you tell me? Well, I can tell you that I published this book. It came out light in May and brings a chapter of those stones that we have and that we have exposed. And look at the cover of the book that presents J.J. Benitez to present in October of this year. Yes, he has spent decades and decades studying the phenomenon. Well, I thank the writer who speaks from one of the chapters of Open Expedition where the discovery says that it should change history. So everything is coinciding, everything is falling into place in its own time. Next year, this year, yes, everything, it's going well. We are going to try to hold a symposium. I was there this morning. Talking about them so that everyone can participate. And let's do a great streaming at the level world that this knows. And also tell you about a part of the book. It says how we got Maria out of Peru. And yes, we took Maria out of Peru, but with art, we took more than 700 photographs of Maria's body at the university, and through the photos and through photographs. Martin is tricking me. No, I'm telling you the truth. No, I know, but it made me believe that they had removed her because of the wordplay you made. Well, so the book says how. Did we bring Maria to Mexico? With art. So at first, when the Ministry of Culture saw Maria, in Mexico, the sculpture, they thought that we had taken it out, and we did take it out with art. With the work of Master Jorge Ismael, one of the most important sculptors of Mexico, with great respect, we made a replica exactly like Maria's body, and it was exciting. So if there is no art, no, there is provocation, and we will continue to provoke with it. Art with information, with letting the public, the people, the curious, and those who resist this change of consciousness know that we are facing one of the great news of humanity. Yes, I wanted to ask you about the Mexican universities that you have approached or asked about. Do you have any plans to be able to integrate them when everything is done? This is more public and accepted. We are open to absolutely everything. No, but you don't have to invite just to invite. That is the two academic institutions of higher rank in Mexico is the National Autonomous University of Mexico. It already gave us the dating. The National Polytechnic Institute already gave us the results of the metals. I think the DNA study should do it by a third person in a foreign country. We already did it in Canada. We have to do it somewhere else to continue. The book also has important academics, writers, historians to give them assertiveness. And at the end of the book, you will find something that was also done with great care, which is the schedule, the dating from 2016 to December 2023 with IDS and file numbers. With cards, absolutely everything. And the goal is that people can find out, and that's why the book is called Open Expedition. I don't know if you have already received the people who are interested. This is not a real commercial. If it's not about people having access, it's already distributed. You can find it now in Tijuana in the stores. And if they want it abroad, I'm going to send you how they can order it by ebook, by Amazon, so that they have it now. And can there be plans to translate it? If you help me, I'm ready. I would like this book to be by an American publisher. Published, we are absolutely ready. My publishing house is Spanish. Its strength is in the market. I already sent you there so that people have access. This is what I just sent you. Very good. I put it in the description with great pleasure. Very good. It is especially Latin, which is Paraguay, Uruguay, Spain, Italy. But through your good work, I invite you to an editorial. Americana is interested in the translation of. This book is in English and is called Open Expedition. Yes, I can make some calls and I will be happy to let you know. Well, from that point on, you're my partner. Well, let's see. Yes, I wanted to ask you about 3 more questions. Do you think so? 3? Yes, that's fine. Well, you already caught me here in front of the public. I didn't want to. No, this is what the site has to do with. This is one, but they are the number of bodies that were found, which they say are between 100 and 200. And if they found artifacts that give an indication that there may have been evidence of technology or something related to. What can you tell me to look at the issue of how many bodies? Whoever talks about the number of bodies is precisely lying. We do not know how many bodies we know, what we know. The bodies that were at the University of Ica, the bodies that have been in custody since December. But to talk about 100 bodies, whoever says the source and where they are, then I go back to the same thing. They say words and then they hide. So this is the first topic. The second issue, if there were some artifacts, I tell you yes, because I already seen some more than artifacts. They were like some, do you remember the laminate when computing began that were perforated? Yes. I did see those artifacts. Those I saw. I did see that series of artifacts. Okay, and there is another question also related to what they found on the site that I have already asked 2 people who told me that the information is correct, but I want to know from you if you can give me more details. They told me that they saw that researchers have in their possession a head 60 centimeters. In diameter. What can you say about that? Because Dr. Zalce confirmed it, and he and Professor Stephen Brown also told me that he saw a photo. What can you tell me separately of that, if you can? Reveal something. If there is a 40 centimeters hand, what size is the head? Yes. So it's confirming. I can confirm that there is a 40 centimeters hand. If a hand is 40 centimeters, there will be a head of 60. I have seen the hand. We have studied it. In the book, the x-rays of the hand appear. Then there is a hand of 40 centimeters. That body will have had a head of 60 centimeters. And therefore there. Okay, last question. Thanks for answering that. This has to do with the effort that the US is making with all this disclosure and the revelation of the information that two sides are fighting. There is Mr. Ryan Graves involved. What is your idea with this? What? Do you think it's happening? Do you think it's a noble pursuit? And what did you think of Graves' reaction there at the Mexican Congress? If you can tell me his reaction, I have a photo in the book where I am with him. I think I have. We were talking this with great pleasure. Let's see if I can find the photo and show it to you now. He is one of the people who first revealed everything, this whole story. I'm looking to see if the photo is here. Well, look, come on. I'm going to give you something that no one has seen. This is the metal plate on Clara's chest before entering the macromicroscopic at IPN. There are the metals. Since you showed it to me here, do you think you can send me that image to put it? Don't be greedy, buddy. It's just one. Here's another. Here is the microscope. Okay, I have a sweet tooth. I have a sweet tooth for information. My mom calls it gossip. That's how she says. That's why you're so good at this, because you're a good gossip. He tells me. Well, tell your mom she's right. Well, Mrs. Achirica, thank you very much for helping us. Yes, I really believe that within this talk, we are going to translate it today. There are going to be many doubts that are going to be cleared up, and I am very glad that you allowed us, especially in the English-speaking community, so that they know directly from the people who were there near the bodies what happened. And well, something that you want to promote, I mean, obviously the book, but where you can follow it. If what I want to promote is that they continue to be psychoactive, you will be very surprised that Psicoactive will soon give you the news that Open Expedition will be published in English. I want to try that too. Just as you committed me, now I commit you. You assume that I will help and nothing. Well, my name is Martin Achirica, and finally there in my networks, I talk about two topics of human consciousness, of spirituality, that in the end, that is what we are, spirits experiencing a physical experience. And I speak about this story with the caution that it must be said, that it must be spoken. And I want to take advantage of your medium to recognize all the work of so many people, that is of Joy Mantilla, of Dr. Roger Zuniga and all that team, of Jaime Maussan, the Gaia television team, of Konstantin Korokov, of the Dr. Piotti, the biologist Jose de la Cruz, Dr. Zals, and so many doctors. There at the end of the book, you will find countless thanks from all the people who are working, from Dr. McDowell. In short, so many people who are speaking. Sometimes it seems that those who don't know make more noise, but we go with the speed of a turtle on a skateboard and with very solid bases. That is why Jaime Maussan's lawsuit for $300 million has already advanced the first 3 instances, and there is no way for the Ministry of Culture to prove that they have the truth and that we are lying. Before I forget, because I remember that we started talking about something before recording, that he was telling me about some new audiences. Could you please update people with this? Well, let's not go. Next year, a new hearing is being planned that will have to do with recognizing the knowledge of the UAP phenomenon before CENIAM, so that Mexico is the pioneer, so that its existence is officially recognized. And it is true. I mean, these objects exist. I have seen them several times. The videos that we showed there on the day of the hearing by the Mexican army. In other words, that audience comes with more authenticity. We will prepare an international symposium. Then we will give the dates, and many, many surprises will come, where the interest is to make this discovery and this truth known to as many people as possible. And I reiterate our absolute respect for the Peruvian people, for Peruvian friends, for Peruvian culture. We are only working for and for the truth. Thank you very much, Mr. Martin Achirica. I thank you very much. So I hope it's not the first, that we can have more talks in the future to follow up on the whole issue more as new information comes to light. And in another practice, we can talk about gastronomy. Yes, because if something has a Tijuana characteristic and I like being there, it is because of its wonderful food. So I remain attentive to you, Pavel. Dear greetings to your uncle, and we continue in the fight without fighting. My uncle and my mother too, who was also a part of us being able to connect with my dear mother.